All right, let's get this going here. Okay, everybody, how are you doing? Let me give you just a sec here. I think I'm a couple minutes early just to make sure we can get everybody on, and we'll jump into it. Looking forward to chatting with everybody. Just make sure this is recording. Good, good, good. Good, we're good, we're good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hey, how you doing? Mickey, good to see you, good to see you. Okay, do this right here. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right, we'll give it one more minute, and then we will jump in and we will get going with this call. I'm actually really excited to be chatting with you guys. This is the first opportunity I've got to chat with a lot of you, so hopefully this will be something that will be helpful for everybody as we get going here. Hey, from Florida, how are you guys? Mac and Deanna, good to see you, good to see you. Let's see if we got more people jumping on here. Oh yeah, we're gonna be good. All right, so what we'll do here, so welcome everybody. Excited to have everybody here on the first official Zoom call for the test group for the Success Club system. And really, really excited to be able to share some ideas with you. I've got a whiteboard behind me, so I'm going to be writing on that. Plus, it also hides a lot of the mess in my office, so it serves a dual purpose. But really, really excited to join, to be here for a lot of you. I know I've met some of you, but a lot of you I haven't met. My name is Kim Carver. I'm over the field development for Team Beachbody, and I just get to work with a lot of awesome coaches, really helping just surface and bring to the forefront what's working for them. Very little of this is actually created by me. Most of it is just me being the facilitator of sharing that with you. So hopefully that gives you a lot more comfort than if it was something if I just created. But I did want to take just a second, since this is our first call, to thank everybody. I know a lot of you are going to watch this live. Some of you are watching this recorded. Whenever you happen to watch it, I just want to say thank you for taking time and being willing to participate in this test group. I can't explain to you how important this is to the company and to what we're doing. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort to try to really look at everything that's going on, look at all the things that are taking, and distill these ideas down to some simple best practices that we can help drive into the coach network. And you guys are a real key component of that. When you got this little activity tracker, right, and all those supported trainings and the different things that you're doing with your coach, that really represents kind of a lot of I guess, analysis and looking into what successful coaches are doing, and hopefully what we're finding with this, and hopefully what we'll find with this, is that as you take these things and apply them consistently, that it yields results. And so far we've seen that. So far that we have seen that happen. The feedback has been very, very positive. We're actually running our first report in 2 days. So today's Wednesday, this will be Thursday. So on Thursday, we'll get our first report. And just so we know, what we're doing is we're actually taking all of you guys and we're looking, in addition to the qualitative pieces, what you're just sharing with me as far as helping you be more consistent and different things like that, those benefits that you're sharing, we're actually do a qualitative analysis as well. Well, we're going to look at Success Club points and how many new coaches and new customers. We're going to look at your income trends. We're going to kind of watch that through the end of the year. And we're going to compare that with a set of coaches that are not in the test group as kind of the control group, and really kind of see how this levels itself out. So we'll get our first report here for the month of October in a couple days. And we'll be sharing that with your coaches, and we'll be sharing that with the team. So just so you guys understand kind of the rollout, we'll be doing that type of thing through the month of October. We'll go through November and then in December. And then the idea is, barring any surprises, that in January, hopefully maybe into February for Team Cup, we will actually be rolling this out to the entire coach network. And you guys will have played a critical role in helping us refine it, make the small adjustments we need so that we can get this out into the coach network. And so, while those of you that are very fortunate, all of you here are very fortunate to have very engaged and supportive uplines. And you'll continue to obviously work with them and listen to them and learn from them. There are a lot of coaches who get started who don't have that kind of support that you're lucky to have. And so that's what this is for, is to help kind of bridge that gap for them and help them get going and know what those core activities are, so they have the best chance to be successful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know it's not always easy. I know this maybe came out of left field for some of you. Some of the feedback has been, I know that some of you, it is requiring maybe a greater level of consistency than you've done in the past, and that comes with it some of this emotional angst that I'll talk about in just a second here, but you push through it. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for your feedback. And remember, I need your success stories. So as you see successes, please share those with your coach so they can share them with me. We're hoping, again, just like with any test group, to be able to launch with half a dozen success story features that we can feature to share with coaches impact this is having. And so your success and those stories are really, really important to us. Okay, so I've got my notes behind here so I can make sure I'm on the same page. So the purpose of this call now, I've delayed long enough, and hopefully everyone's on. The purpose of this call is really to talk about two things regarding the activity tracker that I have been seeing and noticing and getting feedback on that I think will be very, very helpful. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty on the tracker, all right? I know you've got a lot of great training from your coaches and different things in the groups and the things that you're running. But I want to highlight a couple pieces that I've seen that I think will help you as we get into this. And I've tried to couch it around a couple simple concepts. The first one is one that I talked to your leaders about last week, but it's one I call the skill of consistency, and developing the skill of consistency and what that means. And then I want to talk about how that applies to inviting. So this call is going to hit those two pieces. What is the skill of consistency and how do I develop it? And then how does that apply to the inviting process that I engage in? All right, because contained in those two seems to be a lot of the headwinds that I'm getting feedback that you guys are facing right now. So hopefully this helps with you, okay? Those of you that know me know that I tend to be fairly unapologetically honest. I'm tactful. I tend to not hurt feelings, but I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to be very direct. I'll be very honest with you. I don't do that to be mean. I don't do that to be, I guess, overly insensitive with things. Hopefully I don't come across that way, but I do that for a real simple reason, which is clarity and understanding. I want you to understand the things I'm talking about. I'm assuming that you're here because you want to get better. I'm assuming that you're here because at least to some level you take your business seriously, that you want to see some success with this. I'm assuming that you're here, that you've got part-time to be able to allocate to this, that you are allocating time to that, and then you want to be successful. So you don't need me to mince words. You don't need me to try and sugarcoat anything for you. I'm going to be really direct with you. And I hope that you'll receive it in that spirit that I send it to you. One of the things that I noticed, I've been around direct selling my entire life. And before I worked on the corporate side, about 18 years ago is when I started, I was on your side. I had lists of contacts and people that I was talking to and doing other things, right, for a couple different companies. And then I grew up watching my dad build direct selling businesses. And so I'm very familiar, probably more so than maybe a lot of corporate guys you talk to, with what you go through. And so one of the things when I look at these things that we're doing, and specifically a lot of the activities here, I think about me, and I think about when I was starting or what my dad was doing. And I think about, again, on the 18 years on the corporate side, what I see. And it is so common to me to see people spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to figure out the secrets instead of the skills. They're looking for shortcuts. They're convinced. It's got to be, they get mesmerized with SEO optimization, email systems. They get blah or what? Not blah. SEO optimization, email systems. Any of these shortcuts, these branding, these companies that will build your Instagram followers or street, all these other things that go on. And, all of a sudden, all that together starts to become a lot of noise. And I'm not saying those things aren't important, but those things won't matter crap to you. Sorry, it won't matter squat to you if you don't know how to do the core fundamentals of the business well. I'm going to say that again. All those other things won't do anything for you if you do not know how to do the core fundamentals of the business well. And so you would be much better served to make sure that you are allocating your time, efforts, and tenacity to mastering the core skills of the business first. And once you get to that point, then you can bring in some of these other pieces to widen your net, to expose all these kind of things, because you'll be ready for it. Too many coaches flip those around. They're convinced that it's got to be this other way first, and then the people just show up and they magically get going, and they magically want to do it because I've got this SEO optimized search engine or whatever happens, or I've got this guy in India who's adding all these followers to my brand, but I don't have a tribe, and I don't have a clear brand, but all these people are here, but I'm not. And all of a sudden, the business gets heavy, it gets hard, it gets complicated, it gets overwhelming, all those things. And if you really, really want to get good at this, you've got to strip away all of that and really get good at the core. And when you're good at the core, when you can help 3 to 5 people a month, when you can help 3 to 5 people a month, when you can help your existing base of customers stay engaged, do what they need to do, then you can bring in those components as it makes sense, and you'll be ready for it. All right? So as we get into this, you'll find that I have a lot of passion for learning the skills. Stop chasing the secrets. Stop worrying about the shortcuts. The closest thing that I've ever seen to a secret is consistent, purposeful action. The greatest headwind that blows against our coaches is the expenditure of unfocused energy, okay? And so if you want to be successful with this, the first thing is developing self-mastery to stay focused and in keeping your energy focused on the things that really, really matter most, and eliminating those things that really you're not ready for, or that don't apply. Okay, so let's jump into this call right now. All right, the power of the activities on this. Okay, these are all great activities. These are all proven activities. There's not one thing on this sheet that we have not looked at inside and out, torn apart, verified through surveys, talked to coaches. Look, I can promise you, these things on here matter. Now, are there other things that could be on here? Sure, absolutely. There's a lot of great activities, but here's the reality. There's going to be more good things that you can do for your business than time to do them. All right. So what we're trying to do with this is to help you really distill it down into the core activities. And if you want to add a couple here or there, your coach tells you to do that, great. I don't have any problem with that. But on a baseline, these are the minimum activities and that core that we really want you to be focusing on. And the activities themselves, the power of the activities are not done by doing them every once in a while. The power of the activities on this sheet are unlocked through consistency. Consistency. You know, it's an interesting thing. Some of the feedback that I've been getting is, it sounds like this. One of the biggest things that this has helped me do, this activity tracker has helped me do, is be more consistent. I thought I was being consistent, but I didn't realize that I wasn't being as consistent as I needed to be until I started doing this, and I had to be disciplined to this. Or I hear people say, I was doing some of the things on this list consistently, but very few of the things all the time consistently. And guys, we're only a couple weeks into this. All right. And so I would expect at this point, as you're being held accountable to submit one of these completed, 5 to 6 days a week for 8 weeks to your coach, it does not surprise me that I'm hearing things like, boy, this is kind of overwhelming. Boy, this is really kind of hard. This is challenging me. I'm not used to this. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe I made a mistake to get in the test group. I don't know if I can invite 5 people a day. I don't know if I can do these things, right? All this stuff, I totally expect to hear you say that. Because anytime we're trying to build that consistency and develop those habits, there are going to be headwinds that we're going to be facing that really come from our lack of habits, our unaligned habits, the expenditure of unfocused energy that we're used to, and this is going to help us clean that up. If you will stick with it, it will help us clean this up. And that's why the first thing that I want to talk about on this call is to develop the skill of consistency. Maybe you've never thought about consistency as a skill. But it is a skill, okay? Developing the skill of consistency is the first thing that's going to happen as you start to do this. Now, the outcomes will be helping more people. The outcomes will be growth in your business. But I'm telling you right now, the biggest benefit that you're going to get in the beginning is developing this skill of consistency. Let me kind of walk you through why this matters, all right? There's a book that I really like called Take the Stairs. And in this book, he talks about habit creation arcs. It sounds really academic and nerdy, but whatever. Okay, so let me show you really quick what that means. All right, so I've got this little XY graph right here, right? And on this side right here, let's call this time. Okay, and I know my wording's all flipped backwards. I can't write backwards, so you're just going to have to work with me on this, okay? And then this right, or sorry, not this is the time. This is, I'm going to call this emotional energy. Okay? Emotional energy is the emotional energy you've got to give to something when you're doing it. Okay? So it's the thought processes behind it, the actually doing it, the stress about doing it right or wrong and having to learn it and not sure what it is, all of that kind of stuff. And then this right here is time. Okay? And here's what he says. When you're learning something new, okay, right in the very beginning, it ramps up really quickly on the emotional energy level. The first time your coach gave you this activity tracker and you had to start doing this, you felt this. You were going up this, boy, this is hard. I got to track this. I got to look at this. I got to submit this. I got to make sure I got these things in. What does 3 minutes on a story mean? Does that mean the story has to be 3 minutes long, or do I take 3 minutes to actually just make the story? By the way, it's take 3 minutes to make the story. You don't want to have a 3 minute long story. That would be too long. Okay. But all these other things are happening, and can I find this in? And I've got to be more disciplined, and all these kind of things that are happening. And you can just start to feel this going up, right? And for a lot of you, that's where you're at, is somewhere on this curve right now, okay? And here's what you see, okay? If you think about your life, whenever you've learned new skills and got new disciplines, there comes a point when you look back on it, when you'll recognize it. It rarely happens in the moment. It's usually retrospect. When the emotional energy it costs to do that thing starts to decrease. You're still doing the same thing, but the amount of emotional energy, the amount of the taxing nature of it starts to go down. It starts to feel more second nature. It starts to get more intuitive to you. The thing, you now understand what the activity tracker is. You know what the stories look like. You know how to use the little apps. You know how to do these things. And it's funny because you see this all the time. You see this with your coaches who are racking and doing these things, who are getting all these pieces in, and you're like, man, it seems so easy for them. Why is it easy for them? Well, because they paid the price, right? They've gone through and they're doing it, but it's becoming less emotionally costing for them, okay? And here's the problem. The problem is this. This section of that, when the emotional energy is going up as you're building these skills and habits, this one right here, which is where a lot of you are at right now, this is where most people quit. That's where most people quit. They never give themselves a chance to actually get to this side of the equation. They never give themselves a chance to actually get over here to be able to enjoy the benefits of having built those habits. They quit on themselves right here. And they'll say things like, man, it was just too overwhelming. Man, I couldn't do this. And there's always some excuses that will come with it, you guys. And again, I'm being direct. I'm honest. I'm not calling anyone out. But if this is resonating with you, then maybe I am a little bit here, okay? But I don't know how to be any other way other than truthful with it. If you want to build habits of consistency, okay, you have to understand this process so that when you're feeling this anxiety, when you're feeling this exhaustion, and I'm going through that arc, just know that it's not going to be like that forever. That's the price you pay to build those skills and habits so that you can leverage them for years, all right? But it takes some time. So understand that this is where you're at. Don't quit. If this is you, don't walk away from it. Don't find excuses. Don't soften it. Don't rationalize it. Stay with it. Keep going, because at some point it will start to come down. At some point it will start to feel more second nature, and you'll leverage that, okay? So as we talk about developing the skill of consistency, I want you to keep that in mind as I give you the 4 points that I believe, okay, that I've identified or used around how that to develop this skill of consistency. All right, I'm gonna go, let me get my eraser. Sorry, off camera. Okay, now, so when we talk about, again, this is gonna be backwards, I apologize. I should have flipped my camera around, but you can kind of see what this is, right? When we talk about the skill of consistency, there's 4 parts. Let me do this. Skill of consistency. Okay? There's 4 things. The first one is purpose. It's purpose. It's your why. It's the thing that you've heard all the time and probably you need right now to remember. Okay? Let me tell you the reason why learning the skill of consistency starts with purpose. And it's a real simple idea. because people will only do things consistently that matter to them. They will only do things consistently that matter to them. Now, in the short run, they might exert willpower. They might be able to exert whatever thing they can throw at it to keep doing it. But in the long run, you will only do things consistently that matter to you. There are thousands of people that wake up every single day and go to jobs they hate because they need to pay the bills. They got a mortgage paid. They got kids to feed. All those things that matter to them, they go do it, okay? You have to have a purpose behind your business. Now, why is that? Because in the process, think about that habit creation arc, right? Or think about what you're doing with your business. There are going to be implicit sacrifices that you're going to have to make, okay? Sacrifice of time, of convenience, sacrifices along the way. And the sacrifice, if sacrifices don't have a purpose behind them, then sacrifices are just pain, okay? And so when there is purpose behind the sacrifice, then the sacrifice becomes easier. It makes sense. It's not just suffering. And too often, we're not conscious enough of the purpose. Why? Because it's very atypical for people in this world to grow up thinking about being purposeful in what they're doing. You're raised to just grow up and go through the actions. You wait to be told what to do, and you respond to those things, and you develop a habit, if you're not careful after a while, of just reacting to what the world throws at you instead of having a purpose, knowing what you're trying to do, and aligning your actions accordingly. And as coaches in this business, the simple act of making sure that you have a relevant why for what you do, it might seem trite, it might seem silly, you might not understand it. Chances are a lot of you discount it and go, well, that's just a bunch of soft science hooky pokey, right? But the reality is that it is absolutely impossible for you to be consistent enough in this business if you do not know why that you are doing the business. The only way people do things consistently in the long run is if there's a purpose behind it, okay? So I want you to remember that, okay? I want to encourage you to dream big. Dream huge. Have the courage to dream big. When you think about your why and what you're trying to, have the courage to dream big. That purpose should be big. It's got to matter to you, okay? And it don't run it through the filter of what other people might say or what. Just dream big. Go for it. In his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about how everything is created twice, okay? The first time it's created is in your mind. Everything that we have, okay, in this world, okay, was created in somebody's mind before it actually existed in reality. Think about it. Here's a little Bluetooth speaker, okay? Some of you got it for Success Club Prize years ago, okay? This Bluetooth speaker, I showed this to my dad. He's like blown away, okay? What that little speaker, it just connects wirelessly to your phone, and you can play it, and it has such good. How is that even possible, right? In somebody's mind, they conceptualized this. In somebody's mind, they thought about how they could do this. And I know that there were people looking at them like, you're crazy. This wireless connect, you're crazy. And they tried to kill that dream. They tried to kill that vision of it. But they held on to it, and then it got created in reality. Your business is no different. Having that purpose, creating that vision for what you want your business to do, you got to guard that sucker, because that's the only place it exists, chances are right now, is in your mind. And the only way it will ever come to fruition in reality is if you guard it and you nurture it and you take care of it and you think about it and you remember that it's there. Because just because it's in your mind and not in reality, not in the world yet, does not make it any less real. It does not make it any less valid, and it doesn't make it any less impactful for you. Okay? So guard that. Keep that there. Okay. So as we come through this, as we're talking about this, the first thing that I'm going to ask you about developing the skill of consistency is make sure you have your why strong, that you know why you do what you do. Work with your coach if you need to. Talk to your coach about doing this if you don't have one. But you've got to have that purpose, because you will never, ever, ever be consistent with your business if you do not have a purpose behind what you're doing, if you don't know why you're doing it. Okay, your willpower will extinguish itself much quicker than you realize. You've got to rely on purpose. All right, so that's the first thing. When we talk about developing the skill of consistency, the first one is purpose. The second one, okay, is to always have a plan with accountability. Okay. Always have a plan with accountability. So if you think about developing the skill of consistency, one of the things that I'm sure is undermining a lot of you that are doing this test group is you kind of sit down, and right now you don't have enough, I guess, experience with this to you're looking at this, and here is your plan, okay? But we're not quite sure how to execute on the plan. You need to get really familiar with this. This, at least for this test group, this is your plan, okay? This is the plan. And it's not, it's being created to be work for sure, okay? But it's simple. You know the things you need to do. It doesn't mean in the beginning, as you're creating that habit arc, that we're not going to have some emotional energy that's going to come as you get used to it. But I can promise you, by the time you've completed 8 of these, this is going to feel a lot easier to do than it did on the first 1 or 2. If you didn't take yourself out of the game, if you didn't walk away from it, it's going to be a lot easier to do, okay? Having a plan is required for consistency, because too often you'll see coaches, especially ones that aren't in the test group right now. I promise you, there are thousands of coaches that woke up today that are like, I need to work my business, that so far this morning have spent about 45 minutes farting around on Facebook, have kind of been scrolling through news feeds, have been occasionally looking at different things and trying to do everything except for following up with some people. And all their intentions are really, really good, but they've expended so much unfocused energy that by probably the next hour, I'm going to have thousands of coaches in the U.S. who are starting to feel frustrated that they're not being more successful. They're going to be frustrated that there's not more people to talk to. And what they're not going to understand is the fact that they have expended so much unfocused energy on their business gives them the sense that they've been working and been trying to build. And I guess in some sense they have. It's better than nothing. But it's been so diluted across that they can't expect to get any kind of results with it, right? This is the plan. This tells you what you need to do. The accountability part of it, so the plan itself takes away that ambiguity, it takes away the inefficient use of time. Okay, I'm assuming in here, I want you guys to be super efficient, super focused on the things that you want to do. I want you to develop that. I want you to develop that as you learn the skill of consistency, so that you know when you sit down to do something, in order for me to be consistent, I've got to know what my plan is. I've got to understand what that looks like, all right? And the second part of that is there's got to be accountability to it. Now, I believe that down the road, all of you will do a great job being accountable to yourself. And I always like to teach that that's the first person you should always be accountable to. Just because I'm a believer in living your own life and being in control and really doing what you can to affect the outcomes of life. But I also acknowledge and recognize and use in my own life the power of having an external accountability partner, someone who I can be accountable to outside of myself, to help me in the moments when I'm having brain farts and I'm in the middle of my emotional energy curve and I want to quit, I want to walk away from it, and they can help me get back in. All of you on this call have a leader who is committed to help you do this for 8 weeks, okay? That's your accountability partner, unless they're giving you someone else in the group to be accountable to. But be accountable to them. Understand the role in accountability. Accountability, a phrase that I like to use, is accountability turns good intentions into habits. Accountability helps us keep that consistency in place, executing on our plan consistently enough that by the 8th week, we can get through that habit creation arc so we can get enjoying the benefits of the backside like I showed you guys, okay? Where those habits are formed, where those things that require a lot less emotional energy but still yield the same outcomes exist. That's what the role accountability has. So the plan with accountability. Okay, I'm rambling here like crazy, but I apologize, okay? 3. So when we talk about developing the skill of consistency, that is a skill. I know I need to know what my purpose is. I need to have a plan with accountability. And the third one, this is a big one for a lot of you guys, okay? Disciplined time management, okay? Disciplined time management. Now, next to increasing your base of followers on a consistent basis, I believe that for a lot of you, this is the biggest thing that's keeping you from enjoying the enjoying the benefits of consistently doing these activities, is time management, okay? I know it's hard. You know, I feel like such a jerk sometimes. I'm on here like, I know it's hard. Guys, I'm not, and I know sometimes there's going to be days, guys, when life's going to get in the way. And I'll talk about that in just a second. There's going to be days when it just happens. But the thing that I'm going to be honest with you with is the choice to remain undisciplined in your time is a choice. Being undisciplined in your time is a choice. Okay? I know, so I've heard it all. I wasn't born an organized person. I don't really do this. But being undisciplined in your time is a choice. The good news is that means that you can choose to be more disciplined in your time. You might have to get creative with the strategies. You might have to find solutions that are maybe a little bit different from what you've done in the past, but you control your time. Your time is the most valuable resource and asset that you've got for your business, okay? The reality, in my experience, I want you to remember this. Owners own their time, okay? Business owners, people who want to have that ownership mindset, owners own their time. And so if you don't think about it that way, again, a lot of you, that's going to be part of the issue here, is that you're not used to owning that time. You're not used to disciplining yourself with that time. All right. Part of the reason why on this activity tracker, why we put the times, is that because we did like some exhaustive study and found that everybody just does this? No, these are approximates based on what we've heard. And I know, so maybe you'll spend 25 minutes doing connections or 15 minutes or 10, and you'll do it 5. The idea here is that you can kind of create a plan for yourself. I know, for example, I need to do a set of Instagram stories or make sure my Instagram stories has certain topics always there. And I know that it should take me about 3 minutes to create one of those. So if I'm spending 25 minutes on an image with a lot of stickers and some cool things, then I'm probably not, there's probably an opportunity there for me to get a little bit better. Either that or with time, I'm just gonna have to learn to get better at it so I can do it more quickly, all right? But the goal here is that we introduce to you guys the idea of focused, disciplined time. Focused, disciplined time, okay? There is nothing more discouraging, I think, for coaches today, like I mentioned, than waking up, getting excited to build their business, and then floating around on social media and doing other things for a couple hours, and then realizing that they feel like they've been working and I don't see any outcomes, I don't see any things, and if they would look back at it, part of the problem was that they weren't executing on the plan and their time's a little bit messed up. So as we talk through this, okay, there's a couple strategies, and this isn't a time management strategy piece. But what I'm going to invite you to do is to make sure you're using something. Introduce greater discipline into your time. So you've heard the phrase pockets of time. If you don't, there's some great trainings that are on the Champions page around pockets of time and time management, all right? And if you want, I can post them in the group if you want to be able to see those, or you can just go to the YouTube page for the Champions page and look them up, or chances are your coach has it. But pockets of time is just finding those 15, 20-minute pockets throughout the day when the kids are taking a nap or whenever it happens to be, and knowing what am I going to be doing on here during those pockets of time. My plan, how am I executing it on those pockets of time? I know in a given day I need 5 pockets of time. Here's where I'm going to find those pockets of time. Pocket 1, I do this. Pocket 2 is this. Pocket 3, et cetera, et cetera. Or office hours. Blocking hours in and out. I believe that as you get better at this, one of the things you're going to find is you're also going to find when it's okay to turn off your coaching hat, to not be engaged in your business. I don't want you burning out. I don't want you feeling like you're always having to be on, okay? Part of the thing with disciplined time management and a plan is you know what you need to be doing, when you need to be doing it, and then you also know when it's okay to step away, to have that balance. Okay, to let people see that you're more than just, doing coaching all the time. They need to be able to connect with you in other parts of your life, all right? And you need to have that balance. You need to be able to develop that discipline. So many coaches that I talk to that feel burned out, overwhelmed, or exhausted, the root cause of this is they don't have a plan, and they're undisciplined with their time. Okay, so time management, disciplined time management. Okay, the fourth one, I'm just grabbing markers all over the place here, sorry if they're different colors, all right? Is proper expectations. Okay? So again, we look at developing the skill of consistency, building the skill of consistency. Purpose. I know what I'm doing because the only way I'm going to do things in the long run is if there's a purpose behind those. Okay? That I have a plan. I always have a plan. I might have to update that plan once a month. I might have to, adjust something, but I always go into things with a plan, and I have accountability with that plan. The third thing then is I'm really disciplined in my time. Okay. I'm being disciplined in my time. And then the last thing is to make sure that I have proper expectations. And let me explain what I mean by this. Okay. And why it's related to developing a skill of consistency. The idea, so some of the feedback I've been getting, let me just address it directly. Some of the feedback I've been getting is around expectations, okay, has been the comparison game, perfectionism, okay, messing up, and it's been what's the rewards? Like, what's the outcome going to be of all of this? So let me address all of those if I can. Okay. When you come into something, when you're going to be consistent with something, having proper expectations is really important. Okay. Knowing that if I'm engaging in these behaviors, these are what the outcomes should be. This is what should be engaged, and not being like overwhelmed one way or the other. Part of the thing that starts to undermine this is comparison. Okay. Comparing ourselves to previous versions of ourselves, whatever ends up happening. But comparison, all it does is it takes your eye off what you're trying to do. It's a really, really convenient form of self-sabotage that people engage in, just like perfectionism, because it's really hard to argue against. It's really hard for a leader or someone to like push back on that a little bit. All right. And so you need to understand to stop doing that. Okay. Every single day you're coming at things and you're going to do the best that you can do with what you do. I don't know what other people are going to be doing. I don't know what other things are. I don't care what that coach did that started the same time as you. I don't care what so-and-so who started after you, where they're at. I don't care with all those. That should not matter to you. You own your own business. You are a business owner. Okay. And so stop comparing yourself. Stop eroding that desire to be consistent because you feel like what you're doing is not the same or not yielding the same outcomes as people that are around you. All right. You own your own outcomes. You own your own business, and you stay centered and focused on that, and you'll stop leaking emotional energy and stress to things that you can't control. The second thing is about perfectionism. One of the things about these little things is it's really easy, as motivating as to check all those boxes. Empty boxes can also be extremely unmotivating. It's almost like this glaring thing that says, you missed it, you missed it, you missed it, you missed it, you missed it. So let me just address that right now, okay? This isn't about being perfect. This will never be about being perfect. In fact, anytime that you're challenging yourself to do new things, to grow, especially like in a test group like this, failure is baked into the process. As I tell my kids, there's a difference between failing and failure, okay? Failing is part of learning. Missing boxes, missing days, having a funky couple days, whatever. It's life. It happens. I come in, I've got a plan, I've got disciplined time, and then kids get sick or something happens and chaos happens, and I get away from myself a little bit, not using it as an excuse, but it gets away from me a little bit. And then I've got a choice. I can let 1 or 2 bad days compound themselves into a bad week, which compounds itself into a bad month, right? Which compounds itself into me doubting everything that I'm doing and walking away from the business. Or again, when it comes to expectations, I can understand that there's a difference between failing and failure. Failing is I mess up sometimes. That's okay. Right? It doesn't matter if I mess up. It matters what I do afterwards to get myself back going again. Failure is quitting. Failure is walking away. Failure is letting that excuse, that thing be a convenient thing to say, oh, well, you know what? I can't do it. It's too overwhelming. I can't make this thing happen. It's just too much for me. I'm out. Okay? And again, these things all have themselves rooted in expectations. Perfectionism, the poison of perfectionism has itself rooted in improper expectations. What you expected. So I'm telling you right now, hopefully that it's okay. The goal here is not to be perfect every day. I mean, it'd be great if you could be, but the goal is to be perfect more days than you're not, right? The goal is to get more of this done than you're not, to win more days than you don't win, okay? Again, we're talking about the skill of consistency. And part of being consistent and having that skill set is an acknowledgement that when I mess up and I lose some of my consistency, then I don't let that completely derail me from everything else, that I get myself back into the game and I have that tenacity, that perseverance, that dedication, that commitment, because I know my purpose, I know my plan, I understand what I need to be able to do, and I'll re-engage back in it. And I won't let the weight of other people's success or other people's failure or me messing up or things like that change that. I won't let that change that. I stay with that, okay? I'll tell you this. One of the things, earning money as a coach. Let's talk about income for a second. It's your disclaimer here. You have to work hard and skill and everything to be able to earn money, and there's no claims being made here. But let me talk about money for just a second. All right. There are a lot of ways to earn money as a coach. There's a lot of income opportunities for a coach. And I don't know where you're at and what you define that to be. All right. So for some of you, it's, hey, I want to help 3 to 5 people a month, and I get that. Those commissions, and that's fantastic. That's exactly what I need. And I have a couple coaches, and I kind of help them, and we're good. Great. I do want to talk about residual income for a second here, because for a lot of you, one of the most attractive features of our compensation program is it makes accessible to you residual income, not transactional income, not, we're very used to trading time for money, right? It's an hourly wage or a salary, all those things. I'm trading time for money, right? And if I'm really good at what I do, my time's worth more, so they give me more money. When we talk about ownership, business ownership, coaching in this sense, it's not trading time for money, it's trading value for money. And so in order for my compensation to increase, I need to get better and better and better, all right, about creating value for people, helping people get into challenge groups, helping my coaches see success, okay? Building that value comes as we talk through that emotional, that habit creation arc, right? Through that process, that consistency is how value is established and how value is created, okay? So as we create value, it gives us the platform then to build residual income. Residual income is ownership type income, okay? Where instead of trading time for money, I'm able to compound and use that my efforts to build on a compounding nature income that becomes it's never passive. And I don't want you to ever hear me say that. It always will require some engagement from you. But typically up front, it requires a lot more energy for a lot smaller pay. But on the backside, it's a lot more pay for a little less amount of energy, okay? And it continues to grow that way, okay? When you talk about these activities on here, this is the core, okay, of residual income creation for yourself. Now, there's other pieces to this around duplication and teaching this to your other coaches and things like that. But I have a hard time, and I've modeled this out. If you do these things based on the numbers that we've seen, based on the things that we've proven out, doing these things consistently, let's say it's over 3 to 4 months, 5 months, maybe most, with some decent retention as people continue to use the programs and the products, because it's not just all about getting them started, right? We want to help them stay with it and reach their goals and get results. Earning $500 to $1,000 a month is absolutely doable, is absolutely feasible. And the funny thing is once you get to the point where you can consistently and you can predictably earn $500 to $1,000 a month following the plan, following these activities, then you start to replicate that with other coaches. And as you replicate that core business with other coaches, that's how this residual income is created. That's how volume is expanded, that grows in a business, okay? That's how all of these things come into play. That's how 6-figure incomes are earned, is on the duplication of a lot of these little $500 to $1,000 a month part-time businesses that are out there. That's the formula. The funny thing is when we talk about residual income, a lot of times we don't hear that. We'll hear things like get to Emerald, hey, get your spouse going, talk to your mom. And I'm not saying those are bad things to get started, but at the same time, are they learning these activities? Because your residual income is going to be predicated on other people doing those things, you doing them and other people doing them as well. And so when it comes to income, having those expectations of those outcomes, that's what it's going to be. At a minimum, I am hard-pressed to believe that engaging, if you do these things 5-6 days a week on a consistent basis, week after week, that you will not be able to build a pipeline of people where you're at least helping 3 to 5 people every single month. I've just seen too much data to indicate otherwise, all right? And so now let me transition now into inviting. All right, that's the second topic I was going to talk about, which is, I'm not going to talk about this as much as the first one, okay? But I do want to connect these dots to you. The skill of consistency that I've just got done talking about, okay? Learning, okay, developing that skill with purpose, a plan with accountability, discipline, time management, and proper expectations, okay? Those things are how I develop that skill. How does that deal with inviting? Well, I'm gonna helicopter up here just a little bit and talk about what they call sometimes a sales pipeline, right? So let me get my eraser here. As you guys are talking to people, all right, I'm just going to use this diagram, right? And this is like a funnel, right? They call them sales funnels, pipelines, whatever you want to say, right? There's a very real process to this. I have a couple pieces of feedback that I've received that I will address real quick because it's related to this, has been around inviting. It's really hard for me to invite 5 people a day right now. I totally get that. And here's the thing that I don't want you to necessarily do. I personally believe in the importance in having relationships that go along with the invite. I especially in today's social media world, I think there's got to be some connection there before you can actually invite them effectively. All right. And so when I say invite, just to be clear, I'm actually asking for a decision to get started with to make a purchase. All right. You can be inviting people to free info groups, to free groups, and those are great invites. Those are really good. I'm not saying those aren't productive invites. You've probably got to be doing that, but I would almost put that in the process of building connection with people, all right, to open up then the opportunity to ask them to make a decision. We really draw that clear line, you guys, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it tends to be the one where most people get nervous, okay, because they're asking for someone to spend money. They're asking for someone to actually invest some money. And for a lot of people, that can cause some anxiety of feeling salesy. Are they going to misunderstand my intentions? All of that kind of stuff, all right? But it's also important because that's kind of the starting point for a lot of people. It's easy for a lot of people to talk about they want to get better, they want to feel better, they want to do these things, but then they're just not used to investing time, energy, money into it. And so that's where they need a coach. They need a coach to help them put that priority, lower that barrier, to make it easier to understand what's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? So as we go through this, the first step right here, this big end of the funnel right here, is adding your follower base, right? I'm going to put base. These are people that get exposed to your message. This is that big end of the funnel that they just start to kind of come in through, right? And after that base, implicit in this little early part right here is the connections. Now, the connections can be that they're watching and they're resonating with your content. The connection can be that you've reached out to them as they've engaged with your maybe an Instagram story and you've struck up a conversation with them. But the connection there, it means that there's some type of a sense that this is something that's for them, that you're the kind of person that could help them, that can be someone that they'd want to be helped by. All right, but that connection there, that can happen as you're talking to people, as you're adding followers. But I put that in there, right? So that second step right here, that connection, okay, followed by our base. After that is now the inviting, okay? Define how I just said it, asking people to make a purchase, okay, just to be blunt and direct with you. Buy a challenge pack, get these performance products, try this, okay? Having them make a decision that your business has really started to be compensated by, okay? Using Beachbody Solutions to help them reach their goals, okay? Now, so if I'm having a hard time inviting 5 people a day, that's fine. That just means over here on my expanding my base and my connections, that just needs to be a little bit bigger, okay? That just needs to be amplified. That just needs to be something that I need to look at. That's the reason why on the tracker itself at the very beginning, we say we want you to initiate connections and add followers. We want you to be engaging in that first step right there a lot, okay? Because we know if you do that, then these other pieces happen. That's even the social media posts. Again, connections, the Instagram stories, opportunities for connections and building those conversations. All of those things are happening. In fact, if you look at it, what is the first 4 boxes in the Connect, Invite, Follow-Up section is this beginning part of your funnel right here. And the reason is because when we do that well, the inviting is possible. And so right now, if you're having a hard time inviting 5 a day, that's okay, okay? Then make sure you're doing these pieces and keep trying to get 5 a day, all right? Keep getting 5 a day. For some of you, you're inviting way more than 5, and good for you, all right? That sounds fantastic. Okay, so if we keep going with this funnel, after the invite then comes the group that they're in, and this is kind of the result where they go through the group, okay? Then they get their results. They have that positive product experience. Okay, And then after that, they either become, the output of this is hopefully going to be one of two things: a committed customer, okay, or a new coach. Okay? And I know some of you invite people to coaching right at the beginning, and that's totally fine. I just personally believe that even if they sign up as a coach, they still have to have that good customer experience before they can really effectively be a long-term coach for your business. So that's that funnel that we put people through. Okay, so a couple other things on inviting. As you're going through this, please do not underestimate the importance of follow-up. All right? There was a comment that was made to me that said one of the things that's not accounted for on the tracker is actually tracking the people that we're talking to. And I think that's a really good catch, actually. We're going to have to figure out a way to kind of incorporate that. But tracking is really, really important. People you're having conversations with, the people that you're talking to, you've got to be kind of just trying. Now, it can be as unsophisticated as having a little notebook, right, that you write things in, or maybe a Google Doc. It's my favorite, where I just type names in real quick of people I was talking to. Whatever your system is, just make sure you're keeping track of that, okay? Right now, it's a good habit to get into, because the follow-up's really, really important. One of the things around inviting that I'll mention, a lot of you already know this, but so I'm going to mention it for people who maybe don't. I would say probably 85%, based on the questions and the research that we did, probably 85% of the people who are going to successfully accept an invite from you, you're going to have to talk to at least 3 times before they're going to accept that invite, okay? The first couple invites are getting information and getting questions, answering those kind of things. And then that typically beyond that 3rd invite. The funny thing is that if you look at the statistics, okay, in selling, typically most people, 90% of the time, never follow up after the first time they talk to somebody. Okay. And there's lots of ways to follow. If you're struggling with the follow-up, ask your coach. Ask them, what are some things I can do to follow up? If you're struggling with tracking, what are some things you can do around tracking? All right. You guys, I promise I would do some questions and answers here. When it comes to inviting, a couple more thoughts. Just keep at it. The follow-ups, let that enthusiasm come through with you. We did a quick tool where we recorded some new coaches who had achieved Success Club in their first month and their second month, and some success starters, and we just want to say what they did, what were they doing, and they start out being active, obviously, on social media, but really what got them was what they did to invite was just enthusiasm. They just reached out and were just enthusiastically asking people to just join them. I've got this cool group. We're going to lose this much weight. Here's what we're going to do. And their enthusiasm was critical. Their enthusiasm was key. So be enthusiastic on what you're doing with the invite. You guys, don't overthink it. Don't be overly robotic, even though you're looking to check boxes. Remember that there's people behind these boxes, and the people will respond to your enthusiasm and your heart and your sincerity to them. And so it is more than just checking that box. It's making sure that we connect with those people. So, all right. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Hopefully you've taken some notes on developing that skill of consistency as we push through here, and how we can connect that to inviting. So I want to do some questions and answers real quick. I've got a few minutes here. This is typically goes one of 2 ways. I either say we go questions and answers and there's no questions. If that's the case, then we will just end the webinar. If there are questions, then I'll answer them. We'll see how you guys feel. Okay, I like doing it. So let me look and see. Okay, we got, thank you. Okay, great. Appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. What is the point of going live on Instagram? I only get about 5 people seeing it. Marsh, I think it kind of depends. I personally believe that live videos are a great way to connect with people, because they just get to hear who you are. Why you're I'd have to look and see. I don't know how many followers you have. If you get more engagements on your stories than going live, I would just find out what your audience kind of resonates with. If you're getting good and consistent at kind of bringing in your target market, you'll find what you get best traction with them over time as you do it. And then I would just kind of allocate more and more of your time towards those pieces where you get the best response for right now. But I think at first it kind of starts with knowing your target market. Okay. Going live as a foundation. Okay, Saudi, good answer. 5 people you're impacting will gradually grow. Great, Morgan. See, I don't even need to answer these questions. I should just shut up and let Morgan and Saudi and all the other leaders answer on this. How do you suggest keep track of coaches as well as with what on the Success Club system on the importance of contact? All right, Katie, let me read that again. How do you suggest to keep track of coaches as well as with what on the system? Okay, so when you have coaches using this, so this is kind of designed, and hopefully down the road, just so you know, you guys, the plan is to eventually turn this into an app, so it'll be automated, okay, so you can kind of keep track of what you're asking for. In the meantime, the easiest way I've seen coaches do this is have their coaches just print this out, fill it out, or use the editable PDF where they can just tick the boxes and then screenshot and send it to them. That's the best way to be able to track that accountability. As far as tracking everything else, it depends. Some people are pen and paper people. I love Google Drive because I can access it on my phone, my laptop, wherever I happen to go. And I would just create a spreadsheet, and that's where I would track stuff. Other people are super organized. Again, when we talked about that, and they use other pieces, other Streak and these other things that they can do with it. And I'm not disparaging that, but if that's not you, don't feel like you have to do that to be effective right now. Chances are, again, learn that core piece, and you can effectively manage the core with the solutions I just gave you. Okay. Michelle shares. Okay, great. You guys are doing awesome answering Michelle's question. Oh, I just answered it. Good. I just sent out invites to people who comment on my posts. What if keeping these same people enough? Yeah, so Jade, that's a good question. So basically, Jade says, I'm sending out invites to people who like and comment on my post. What if I keep getting the same 5 people watching and liking and commenting on my post? It's hard to start the conversation with the 5 people every single time, right? But it's slower than it happens. And honestly, Jade, I just want to encourage you to keep going with it. Okay. The consistency will matter in this aspect. The consistency will matter. Now, when it comes to especially Instagram, make sure that you're kind of your target market dialed in. Look at some of the expanding your network trainings that hopefully your coach exposed you to. In the back office, under the business training and the skills section, there's a training called Expanding Your Market where I went through and I did a kind of real simple hashtag exercise where you can search hashtags, and it kind of talks about how you can find people that you think would kind of resonate, your target market, like a comment on a couple of their pictures, and then see if you can strike up a conversation that way. It is a process. That front end of the funnel, it's a little bit of a process to get that going. But the things that will help with that is consistency, like we talked about, and also kind of having a real kind of a clear idea of the type of person you're trying to bring in, because that will really help your messages and things resonate with them. Because when you like and comment and try to start up a conversation, the first thing they're going to do is go check out your content. And if they see something there that resonates with them, there's a better chance that that connection will be made. And the good thing is when you have those kind of connections that happen, they tend to bring in other people that like and follow you as well. So don't lose patience with that process. All right. Boy, we're getting all kind of, let me scroll back up here just a little bit. Okay, let's see here. Okay, how long should I expect to have to wait for people to join me? I don't know what you mean by that. To join you like as coaches. So maybe give me a clarifying piece on that. Susanna says, when having mentoring calls with coaches that are actively participating in this initiative, what type of questions should we ask them to get proper coaching? Sometimes I feel I'm not as good a coach. Well, first of all, Susanna, I know you, and I know you're a great coach, okay? One of the things, leaders, that I would tell you when it comes to this is just like anything else. Remember that the goal that we're trying to do is help create independence in our coaches, independence of action, independence of thought. Accountability does not remove independence, okay? Accountability should just help foster habit creation. So look to empower your coaches. This morning on the National Wake Up Call, Melissa did a really good job talking about accountability and kind of how to foster that and how she does it. I think that's fantastic with them. I would specifically, the great thing about this, Susanna, is that you can kind of say if they're missing boxes or things, just ask them. Ask them if they're not getting, like we've had a couple questions, like I'm not getting a lot of people following me back. What's going on? I mean, this thing will give you a roadmap to help you identify areas of opportunity for people to improve at. So I would use that instead of even looking at it in its entirety. Dial in on the specifics that are coming through and have those conversations with your coaches so that you can triage or address or train on the specific activity where they need to get better. All right. One other question. So that's a really good question on Facebook ads. So how do we incorporate Facebook ads into the system? We actually went back and forth on that. We found that of all the 9,000 lifetime diamonds and above that we looked at, and about 35% 5 to 45,000 had 4,500 had year-over-year increasing incomes. Okay, we really focused on those. Only about 21% actually spent money on Facebook ads or Instagram shout-outs. And so we didn't really include that. So the reason, what I would say to answer your question is the Facebook ads and Instagram shout-outs, whatever investments that you make to bring in more people, more eyeballs on what you're trying to do here, all it should do is just expand your follower base and increase those number of conversations. It should just be a method to reaching some of these pieces right here. I know there's all kinds of strategies around running ads and doing that, and if you're really good at that, I think that's fantastic. I think that's awesome. I'm not saying that it's not an important thing to do, but it really does kind of fall outside the scope of this a little bit. Not saying that I don't want you to do those things. I'm saying that those things should help drive some of the activities there, but we shouldn't have to be able to do those things to make these things actually happen. Okay. Let me keep going here real quick. I did so many live videos, coach trainings, except for myself because no one watched their show at practice. Yes, it is a normal way to start that way. Okay, so just keep going. One of my favorite stories was one of the first or second times I met Melanie Mitro. She was talking about how I think it was her first 1 or 2 calls that she did, she was just by herself. And so instead of getting frustrated and not doing the call, she just did it to herself and figured it was good practice. And I think that really displayed a tenacity and an effort there. So yeah, I would say just keep going, just keep doing it. You're building a library of content that people will see, so keep engaging with that, keep going live, keep telling those stories. And again, because as people come, as people get exposed, and they will, okay, they'll find that curated content piece there, and that will really help you with your target market. Okay. All right. For engagement on IG stories, does this cover polls we put up as well? Sure. Yeah. So whenever we talk about initiating connections, engagement, polls are a great tool for IG stories for that. Okay. So really quick, with the IG stories, these little specific posts, that's meant to really be a key guideline. We have a lot of people that would ask, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, what should my Instagram story look like? Well, if you look at your Instagram stories in a 24-hour period, you should always have, most, if not all, of these things that are there. That doesn't mean you can't do other stuff. That doesn't mean that you can't do a poll. Hey, I made this healthy recipe. Are you interested in the recipe? Yes or no? Or, things like that to engage them. Absolutely. Use those tools to engage with people. Absolutely. So do that. All right. And if no one answers the poll in the beginning, it's okay. The funny thing is they don't know that no one else answered it, so you just keep going and they'll see it more and more and just assume everyone else does. So I would even if no one answered it, I would probably pretend like they did. Be like, oh, I really appreciate that. Thanks for your feedback or whatever. I'm going to go this way, whatever the poll is. All right. Love the funnel diagram. Good. Consistent, persistent. Kate Morgan, she invites us apart because she is. Okay, good. Training. Yes, that was hard. Coach. Okay, here we go. Keep looking for coaches. Okay, good. All right, so looks like we ran out of questions. So if you have any questions, go to your coach. Chances are they'll answer it better than me anyway. But if there's something that they can't for whatever reason, they can get to me and I'll be more than happy to answer it. Again, you guys, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this and really use this opportunity this time to develop this skill of consistency, using this activity tracker as a good platform to be able to do that. I can promise you that if you will do this through this test group, things will be better for you I can promise you that. All right. So do with it, stick with it, get us your success stories, you guys, so we can feature you guys on Super Saturdays and other things we got coming up when we launch this. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for all you do, and we'll talk to you. See you guys. Bye now.